Well, I guess as you figured out from the title, today is going to be Scenery Day, and today we're actually going to be working with a lot of greenery, okay? We're going to be applying various types of flock and static grass and various materials here on the modules. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, before we get started, I want to ask you to take a second to subscribe. Click on the subscribe box, and when that comes up, click on the little bell right next to it and click all. Okay, before we do get started, let me point out one thing. You might notice that the gravel area here is a slightly different color than it was the last time you saw it. If you remember, I originally used a very light colored sand to go down here. Well, after looking at it under the lights when I did the video on the decoder installation, I was kind of overwhelmed at how bright it was. And so I didn't like it. And so what I did was I got my scraper out and I scraped it all off, and I put down this Woodland Scenics fine gray ballast. And that gives me the color I like. I like this a lot. And so that's what's down here, and that's what it's going to be used on the entire module for these areas that are open, bare, gravel and parking areas and that kind of thing. So that was the first change that I made. So, and that's one thing that's important. Never be afraid to tear stuff out if you don't like it. And that's another reason that I actually only apply stuff in small areas at first, when I'm first getting a feeling for how things look. Because you never know exactly how you're going to like the way it turns out. But what I want to do now, though, is go ahead and add the greenery here to the pasture where we're going to have the cattle and the sheep sitting out there doing their thing. So let me explain first my approach. Here, I'm going to cover this whole area with green flocking, with ground foam. And it will be, I think I'm going to be using a Scenic Express product, which is actually a mixture of ground foam and some static grass mixed in with it, and it gives you a lot of variety. And that's this one, this one right here, and it's called their grass turf blend. And I think this makes a really nice combination because it has a mixture of various shades of green in here, along with a little bit of static grass to help, give it a little bit more texture. So, and it's fine, so it can be a base for everything else that we want to apply. And I have a whole variety of different materials from Scenic Express to use. I have a light green that can go on in just a limited number of areas. And I also have this one here. This is a farm pasture blend, which I guess is appropriate for here. And these are all fine materials. This is burnt grass. I believe, yeah, that's the burnt grass version. And again, fine. Now, for areas, and that's going to be all type of thing used here on the flatter area where the animals can be grazing. On the slopes and the area down here towards the gravel, where we're going to have a fence or a hedge, I'm going to use something a little bit more coarse. And for that, I have this grass. This is called a scrub grass blend, and this is available from Scenic Express. And I like this a lot. It has a variety of different colors and sizes of foam materials, as well as some of the static grass included in it. And because it is much, much coarser, it is really nice to be putting in areas where you want a rougher, wilder look. Now, also, as far as static grass goes, one product that I really like that has come out in the last few years are these static grass mats. And here's a piece of one right here. And I've got two versions. I've got this one from Bachman that we can use, and I've got this one from Hecky. And basically, they're the same thing. The Bachman one does have a little bit other material in it, a little bit of flocking attached to it. But other than that, it's basically long fiber static grass that has been applied to a backing of fiber mat. And this is nice because you can tease it apart and make it as thin as you want. So you can apply that over top of a similarly colored grass blend. And it really looks nice. It gives you that rough texture that you get from, you know, deep matted grasses and that kind of thing. So we'll be using that here on the edge where we'd expect to find, you know, where we got a fence and we've got a little bit less maintenance being done and the cattle are doing a little bit less cropping of the grass. So those are the products. One other thing that and these are a couple of things that I really love. And these are from a company called Silflor Miniature. And they, again, are available from Scenic Express. And these are called buffalo grass. And so basically all they are is tufts of static grass that you can peel off and pop down all over the place. I've got them in two different colors. One is midsummer and one is late summer. So you've got two different colors to mix in, and they're great for just applying you know, at various places around the periphery of a meadow, and you know, maybe in spots in the middle of it to just break it up and give it a lot more variety. Okay, so with that introduction, and also a lot of foliage clumps here in three different colors. These are Woodland Scenics foliage clumps. So let's go ahead, and what I need to do first is apply the Mod Podge adhesive here to the landscape, and then we'll go ahead and shake on a layer of this grass blend that I showed you that's going to be used over the entire green area, and then we'll layer stuff on top of that. So I'm going to come around to the front of the layout and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, I've moved the camera around so I can get in here and start applying some of this material. I'm going to wet my brush first like I did before, and then we'll take the Mod Podge and we're just going to just goop it on here and get it all over the green terrain here. And it doesn't matter if it splashes around and gets on the gravel as well, because it's going to dry matte finish anyway, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to edge it in first, cut in the edge, and then we'll start moving out. I'm going to take the glue right up to the edge of the fascia there and run a line right along the top, because we're going to have scenery right up to the very top of the fascia. It's always a good idea to keep a paper towel around, because you're going to get it all over the place doing this for sure. Somebody asked me in the comments why I didn't use some kind of shaker instead of a spoon. Well, I do have a shaker. This is I got this off, I think, Amazon. I might have got it at a kitchen supply store somewhere. But at any rate, it's designed, I think, for shaking confectionery sugar and that kind of thing on cakes and the like. And, you know, you can just basically, as long as you've got a fine mixture, because it is a fairly fine screen, you can go ahead and just shake it on, and it will give you a nice even coating everywhere. And it is a bit faster than using the old spoon technique, I will admit. As you can see, it's quite easy to get the flocking all over here. Okay, so let's keep going. I'm going to shake it right up to the edge. And right along this edge here, on the railroad property line, I haven't decided yet. I might do what's called a Devon hedge, and which is a type of hedge that was characteristic of Devon. And it consisted of about a 6-foot high stone wall, and on the top of that, they allowed trees and other vegetation to grow. So it was quite an imposing structure as far as keeping cattle and the like in pastures. Okay, so that's got the base coat of the greeneries. Okay, the next thing I want to go ahead and work with is this Scenescapes static grass. It's from Bachman, and these are 6 millimeter static grass fibers that have been glued to the fiber mat underneath of it. And the great thing about this, it comes in what looks like a big fuzzy blanket, and you can unfold it. And then you can just tear off sections that you want to use, like so. Put the rest back in there. And then you can tease it apart. I think I'm going to put this down here along the fence line. So we're going to have a line of that static grass mat all along this area that's going to be the fence line, although I'm going to thin it out a bit. So I can just pull it apart, tease it apart, and it doesn't matter how thin it is because once I get through, I'm going to have this base scenery layer underneath, so it doesn't matter what's down there. Let's get some more mat. Okay. We can go ahead and just pull that apart. I'm just going to pull these out and get them set up, and then we'll go back and glue them into place. Okay. So this will be the area that is the fence line. Okay. Get that in there. And I'm just going to tease it out a little bit. Okay. So it's going to cover a much larger area than what it originally came in. So this is one way of applying static grass without having to use one of the electrostatic applicators. Okay, to make this a little bit easier, I just mixed up a little dilute glue, and I'm just going to shoot it down underneath of my grass mats. And this is all going to dry, you know, a nice matte, clear matte finish. So it doesn't matter that it's tucked in like this. There we go. Trying to catch any areas that need a little bit more glue. Okay, that's that part done. Let me clean up my mess and we'll add some more. Okay, the next area I want to work on is right here on the top of the hill. And for that, I'm going to be using that coarser blend that I like that has both static grass and the flocking of various texture, coarseness, and sizes in here. And I'm going to just wet this first with some of my isopropyl alcohol and get it wet down. And then we'll come back with a layer of the glue. Now, let's go ahead and apply some glue here. Let it soak in a little bit, and then we can apply the flocking. And see where I've wet it, the glue just soaks right in and saturates the foam. Okay, now let me get one of my spoons, because this material is just a bit too coarse to even fit in that, to fit in my largest container. I have this container here, which is, you typically see this in Italian restaurants, I think, for Parmesan cheese and that kind of thing. And it's got fairly large openings, but even that is not large enough for some of the larger pieces of foam in this. And the color matches the base layer very nicely, so you get, it just really blends in well with it and gives you a good, nice transition there. Now for you guys over in the UK, you know, you can get Woodland Scenic supplies over there, I know, because, you know, various hobby shops there carry it, just like here in the States. I assume that Scenic Express would ship to England. I really don't know. Never tried that one, but they are an excellent catalog supplier, and they have their own brand of materials, as well as stuff from Hecky and Notch or Knock or whatever, and various other companies. And they have an extensive array of materials that they sell. Also, there are a couple of sources that are readily available to you guys that are not available to us here in the States, and that is WWS Scenics, or WWS, which is World of War Scenics, I believe. They make a lot of different scenics and static grass materials. And then there's another one, I've seen him on YouTube a bit. He has a YouTube channel, and I think his website is something like Gamer Geek or something like that. And he has just an extensive array of static grass and foam flocking mixtures and natural materials to be used for scenery. So you might want to look him up. I'll try to include the website for both of those, and I'll try to include some links to a series of videos that he did recently. gamer geek guy, because he did one recently on doing scenery for model railroading, or railroaders. So it'd be worth taking a look at his stuff too. Now I'm going to add some of this down here. Let me come on out some. Okay, I think that's all of that I'm going to need right now. I also need to work down on some of these areas down in here. So let me get out some other materials and we'll go to work on that. One thing that I still need to do though is add some more glue to set all of this material over here in place. And this is all going to work its way down slope and lock everything together. Okay, I made up a dilute solution of scenic cement, matte, medium, and water. And what I'm going to do is just spray some scenic cement over all of this stuff to lock it in place. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I need to add a little bit of coloration, color variations here. So let's take some of the pasture blend and we'll pull that out and just sift a little here and there to give some color variation. Put it in some of these hollows to give them a little definition. So that we don't have this appearance of a pool table here all over the or so that it doesn't at least look like a golf course. Okay, that's enough of that. And I want to get some of that bright green, almost yellow, light green fine texture, and put just a touch of it here and there. This stuff goes a long way. That's enough of that. I think that stuff really makes it pop quite a bit. Okay, and this is our burnt grass. So I can give it some more dark texture here, not a lot of this. Okay, so what I want to do now is just take some of these clumps, foam clumps like this. I can just take these clumps and get a little bit on the bottom, and we can find a place where it would look good with a clump. Because we don't want a lot of these yet, because I haven't decided where I'm going to put any trees. But we're going to assume these look sort of like bushes, hunkered down in some of these hollows here. Put one up here on the side slope. And over here somewhere. These could be, little briar patches and there, that should hold it. Okay. And how about one right here in the middle? And now Let's take a look at some buffalo grass here. Okay, so buffalo grass is basically then just little tufts of I think these are about 6 millimeter long static grass clumps. And you just pick them right off of here. Okay, so you just take these little clumps and put some glue on them, and you can plop them down somewhere. Are they a little bit too light, I think? Let's try some of the dark. Let me see how that looks. Might have to pull that one out of there. Yeah, I think I'm going to pull that one back. I think he's just a bit too light for this scenery here. So there we've got a patch, and we'll put it right down there up front. And let's get a few more of these. So these work great for just little patches of tall grass up here in the middle of the meadow. Okay, we want to break up this area here quite a bit. There. Okay, how about one right here? I'll show you what I'm pulling off of here. So it's just this mat of these things. And you can just peel them right up. And they have that adhesive backing on them. And then I just add my glue, and we don't have anything over on this side, do we? Yeah, this is a nice color. They blend in very nicely. This here, I don't like the shape of that. It looks too much like a hedge instead of a bush. Okay, there. So now I'm going to let these all dry in place and overnight, and that should be nice and firm and everything in place by tomorrow. And hopefully, I'm not going to have to go in and pull this out once to take a look at it and see whether I like it or not. At any rate, you can see what we've created here. It is a very variable landscape with a lot of different textures built in. So it's not your typical putting green type of appearance. This one, it really does have a lot of different textures, a lot of different colors built in, like you might see out in a pasture that has just been cattle just been turned out to it. Well, that's a wrap for today's video. I hope I've given you some ideas on some techniques that you can use to improve the scenery, the greenery on your layout. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you here on Monday with another new video from the DCC Guy. Bye now.